this woodworking thing, like, wow, this is really a hobby where you have no interaction with anybody else, and you're essentially just by yourself all the time.
Right. Yeah.
And I honestly, because of the amount of time I spent on it, I was struggling with that. And so I thought to myself, I want to kind of share this, I guess, with more people. And I was trying to think of how to do that. And I had a couple of friends suggest, hey, why don't you start a YouTube channel?
You're listening to the Behind the Village podcast. My guest today is David Ardito from the Woodworking YouTube channel, Timber Designs.
I started YouTube. I started the channel at the end of March 2024. That's when I started it. I'm almost a year, and I have grown way beyond what I ever thought was going to be possible with this channel.
Yeah. So for people that don't know, tell me a little bit about the channel Timber Designs, right? And how many viewers you have and stuff like that. And what is it about?
Yeah, sure. So Timber Designs it's a company that I started about 3 or 4 years ago. And the purpose of the company was building custom woodworking projects for various clients, and I got into all kinds of stuff. And I guess one of the things that I started to find in looking at what I was doing is that I had this thought to myself, where this woodworking thing, like, wow, this is really a hobby where you have no interaction with anybody else, and you're essentially just by yourself all the time.
Right. Yeah.
And I honestly, because of the amount of time I spent on it, I was struggling with that. And so I thought to myself, I want to kind of share this, I guess, with more people. And I was trying to think of how to do that. And I had a couple of friends suggest, hey, why don't you start a YouTube channel? And to be honest, I never entertained the idea at first. I thought the vision of myself being on YouTube and a so-called influencer, which I don't think I'm an influencer, but apparently that's what many YouTubers are called. It was just completely foreign to me. And then, I remember one day I was talking to my wife about this idea, and she said, you should just go ahead and do it. Just pick an idea. And I said to her, well, what do I do? I have no idea what to do. And she said, well, you're holding a hammer right now because you were just swinging it. So do a video about those, because I have no idea why you have like 7 different hammers in your shop. And I was like, okay, that's actually a fair point. So I went on Amazon. I bought some $30 microphones, and I set up my cell phone, and I said, I'm just going to record this. I'm going to start the channel. I'm going to post it, and I'm going to see how it does. And actually, to my surprise, so I posted that at the end of March, and I think I got about 400 or 500 views on it within a couple of weeks.
Wow.
And I was blown away. I was like, no way, this is real. So in any case, I kept pushing at it, and I had so much energy and everything at that point that I was putting out almost one video a week. I had so many things that I wanted to talk about. And so the channel just started to grow and grow and grow. So I had tool things on there and all kinds of other stuff on there. And then in June of 2024, I decided, you know what, we're going to be going on vacation, and I'm not going to have time to do a video. So I'm going to throw a video together with some of the projects that I've already made and just explain to people how I built them. Right. And so the channel is a lot. It's not just, it's tool reviews. It's what I've been up to in the shop. It's different project ideas for other people to try. And a lot of it geared more so towards beginners, people that just want to get into it. So I put this video together with 5 different project ideas in about the middle of June, and went through the editing and all that fun stuff. And I'll never forget it. At the beginning of July, I'm sitting at a campsite with my family, and I'm keeping an eye on this YouTube analytics because I want to see how this video is doing. I've never done anything like it before. And so I open up the video, and initially I see that it's got like 10,000 views. Wow. And my mind is blown at this time. I have no idea what's going on. And then I look at the subscribers, and it's got me almost 400 subscribers just on one video. And then, so as we progressed through the vacation, by the time we came back from vacation after 4 or 5 days, that video had almost 1,100 subscribers on one video. Wow. And the amount of plays on that video went up to about 56,000 views within a 2-week period, up to about 56,000 views. And it was that one video that I launched that completely monetized the channel. It got past that barrier of 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours just
Yeah.
with what I had before, plus adding that one video on. It was crazy. We were sitting around a campfire and I was just in shock. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, oh, wow, I'm going to start making some money on this channel now. I never thought it was possible.
That's crazy. Yeah.
And so
That's
what I gradually started to find out is the woodworking community is not as small as I thought it was. It's a matter of finding people in the right places. Just before I started the YouTube, there was a fella I met here up in Gravenhurst, John. He came in and picked something up for me. He wanted to buy some wood, and he started a Facebook group. And he came back like to interact with other woodworkers. He came back and told me, I started the Facebook group because of what you were saying about, there's nobody else to hang out with, and so he started a Facebook group just for that. And this fella John, he's one of the reasons I think it was so successful is because every video that I did, he pushed it out. In addition to me posting it, he shared it across his Facebook page. The sales that we would do locally here in town, John was always at those too. So him and I would be interacting back and forth. It was just kind of crazy. He's probably one of the reasons that pushed me to do it in the first place. So, sorry, going back to I guess how far the channel has come. We're now about 10 months in. And the last I checked, it was at about 6,538 subscribers.
That's amazing. That's
which
crazy.
is it's insane because the general rule is that when you start a YouTube channel, expect maybe to hit 1,000 subscribers within a year. That's kind of a general rule. But I hit that in a period of 4 months.
Wow.
Which was absolutely mind-boggling. So,
Yeah.
and that kind of got me to where it is now. I upgraded some of my equipment and whatnot, and kind of went from there. I still use a cell phone for recording; they work great. So,
Well, nowadays the technology, right? Like it's so accessible now. Like it's very easy to get started with anything content related, right? Because of social media, because of YouTube, because of all these things, it's really easy to just pick up a microphone that is relatively cheap. They pick up, use your cell phone because everybody has a cell phone, right? And just kind of get started. It sounds like you just kind of took the idea and ran with it as simply as possible, which is something that I feel like a lot of people struggle with understanding, right? I think, and I don't know if you kind of thought that way, or maybe you think differently, but one of the things that I think I struggle with sometimes is I want to do something, right? Or I want to get started. And then I am thinking is like, oh, okay, so what kind of equipment do I need? And should I get, if I spend just a little bit more, then I get this equipment that is better. Or if I wait out here, there's gonna, something new is gonna come out, and and just kind of that decision paralysis, if you will, right?
absolutely. Yeah, there's always a bit of hesitation there. When I was first starting the channel, I was on Amazon when I was looking for microphones. And I bought these $30 wireless microphones that plugged into a cell phone. I never thought they were going to work. And I was saying to my wife, I said to her, well, there's these other ones that are $150. Maybe I should get those. As she said to me, she said, you know what? Those other microphones, they've got good reviews. They're going to work. So go with it. And if it works, and play it back and see how it sounds. If it sounds great and you start doing more and more, then do it, then upgrade. And that's exactly what I did. But I've only upgraded 2 things since I started this YouTube channel. I've upgraded a microphone, and I bought a professional tripod for filming. Or sorry, actually 3. I also bought one of those gimbals with the AI tracker that follows you around.
Oh yeah. I've seen those.
They're really, really cool. Those are the only upgrades that I've done. I'm using the exact same phone that I used when I started this at the end of March. And like you said, like phones and whatnot, they're so good now. Anybody can do it. It's all you need. And the microphones that you can buy, they just plug right into a USB port on your phone. It's so simple.
Yeah.
Right. So, to start something like this, do you need to spend all kinds of money on fancy equipment? No. If you have it and you want to, great. But by no means do you have to do that. My goal was to invest as little as possible to see what I could maximize on this. Initially, my intention wasn't even a thought I entertained that I was going to get monetized. I didn't even think about that. I was doing it for fun and just to share. I mean, I think my video was called my first video was Now That's a Hammer. I think that was, and it was meant to be kind of a little bit of a funny title. And literally it's just going through all these hammers that look the same, but they all have a different purpose. And I just used basic equipment. I had one of those cell phone holders with the ring light attached to it also. That's all I had. Fortunately, in my shop here, before I started YouTube, I had already upgraded my lighting. So my lighting in my shop is all daylight LED. So I got very lucky there. Mm-hmm. I already had that done. You could see some of it reflecting in the window behind me. But yeah, you don't need to have the best of the best. Anybody can do this. The hardest part is being on camera. Initially, the introduction of what it is you're going to talk about it, how you're going to talk about it, how you're going to structure it, what is too much and what is not enough to say. So that was the hardest part that I found, was actually being on camera. Now, fortunately for my profession, I talk a lot for a living. So in teaching. So it was a little bit easier for me, but it's still very different when you've got a camera pointed at your face. When you're looking at a cell phone camera and you have to make sure that your eyes make contact with that little dot in front of you. So that way you're looking at everybody.
Funnily enough, it's one of the things that we are changing starting the last one. This one will be released after we started the whole storyline of the Why Can't I? But starting with that whole this year, we started changing it where before we kind of just talked the introduction, right? Like I would write it down and then I would just speak it out. But then this year I decided, you know what, why don't I just kind of look directly at the camera and actually talk? And it's surprisingly difficult. And similar to you, I actually do like presentations and I do, public speaking and I do that kind of stuff for marketing. So I feel like I'm fairly used to speaking in front of people, but being in front of a camera is actually quite different, and I don't really get why. Like it's just a feeling. It's not the same. Like I feel like with people I get feedback, but with cameras I don't. Maybe that's the problem. I don't know.
And you know what I think it is? I think it's because when you're in person, you can see everybody there and you know who you're talking to. But when you're on camera, you don't know who is going to be watching. That's a big thing for me. I mean, 7% of my viewers are over in Germany. Right? I've got 4% of my viewers that are over in the UK. 62% of my viewers are spread across the United States.
Yeah.
Right? You like when you launch on something like YouTube, you have the potential to be everywhere around the entire globe. I've got viewers in Russia. I've got viewers in South Korea. I've got viewers in South Africa. Right? You're going to be everywhere. So I think the thought of that can sometimes come off as a little intimidating. But you don't want to let something like that discourage you. It can be done. Remember that in the moment while you're recording a video, it is you and a camera, and that is it. And that's how I think about it. It's just me and a camera. There's nobody else here right now. Mm-hmm. And if I don't like what I'm seeing, I'm going to figure that out when I edit it. And then maybe I'll go back and redo it at that point if I don't like it. But yeah, while you're recording, it's just you and a camera.
Yeah.
So that's the way that I try and look at it. And what I do on the channel is I do a lot of builds. So it's not always my face. Sometimes it's hands. Sometimes it's a tool. Sometimes it's me crouched down on the floor. It could be all kinds of different things. So there's always all these different angles and whatnot. It's not always me looking at the camera, but anybody can do it. I'm not going to say that it's easy to do. What I will say is it's a challenge at first, but it is fun. And the fun comes after you post the videos because, in the 10 months that I've been doing this, I have met so many amazing people, right? I've exchanged cell phone numbers with probably about 7 or 8 people down in the United States, a couple of which have channels that are almost 200,000 subscribers.
Wow. And
it's just because we're chatting about woodworking. We're chatting about what we enjoy. When we're doing the videos, we're sharing what we love doing. It's not about anything other than that. If you enjoy what you're doing, the video is going to come out good and people are going to like it.
Yeah. That's amazing.
That's just kind of how I look at it.
Yeah, for sure. And that makes a lot of sense. One of the things that I wanted to think about, because I think we're gonna get into how you think about YouTube and how you kind of um, create content, because I am very interested in that, right? The whole crouching down, the whole idea. But for me, I do agree. One of the key things that you said that just reminded me was that what makes me feel better is that I know that I can go back and edit videos, right?
Yep.
So I know that if I say something or if I do something or like whatever, especially because it's a podcast, right? That I can go back and change it. I can go back and take it out, or move it to the end, or do something like that.
Oh, oh, absolutely. 100% you do. And I mean, I love the editing for that. You have no idea how many times that I've sat down, I'm editing something, and I think to myself, wow, do I ever talk a lot? And I end up having to cut out a lot of what I'm saying because I'm recognizing that I'm saying too much. But that's the beautiful part about editing, is I can do that. And I've done it a few times where I've recorded something. I go back inside, I go to sit down and edit it, and I don't like the introduction. And to me, the hardest part of any video is the introduction. That is the hardest part, no matter what,
100%.
because if you look at the way YouTube works, you've got 30 seconds to capture people's attention. 30 seconds, and that's it. So I've had to redo introductions quite a few times before. But yeah, the editing part is really great for that, because you can figure out what you like and what you don't like. And before I post anything, it always goes through to get my wife's approval. She is my backup screening person, if you will, from her perspective. Does this actually flow? Does it look good? Am I talking too much? Do I need to change anything? So just like a second set of eyes, right?
Absolutely.
And that really helps. And actually, my daughter is going to be coming into that. She's taking a media arts class, and she wants to become my camera person.
Nice.
So she's going to be working the camera, and she wants to do the editing too. And for anyone who has done editing on videos and whatnot, it can be a tiring process and a lengthy process depending on what it is that you're editing.
Yep, absolutely.
Right?
It takes a long time.
Oh, absolutely. I've done editing for 9 hours straight before, because some of the content that I've had, I mean, it's building pieces of furniture. I mean, I built a not full size, but a big desk for my daughter, and I filmed the entire thing and put it out in one video that I condensed down to 20 minutes.
Yeah. So I think before we get too far ahead, there's a few things that I wanted to ask you that kind of came up when we first started the podcast. One of them was that you never paid any attention to YouTube, or before you kind of got started, right? You never really thought about, hey, why, it's YouTube, right? But why? What was that thought? What is it that made you not want to be part of it, or not want to do it at first? And how did you overcome that, I guess?
So to be honest with you, I never entertained the idea of YouTube because I didn't think I could do it. That was the exact reason. I guess I lacked a little bit of confidence in the sense that I'm not a professional video editor, nor a videographer. So I'm not any of those things. And I was actually concerned that, will people actually want to listen? If you will, call it a little bit of a confidence issue, because it was a brand new thing that I had never explored. And so that's what stopped me for quite a little while. And then that's when my wife was saying to me, you are your own worst critic. You criticize yourself harder than anybody else ever does. And she's right. And I think a good majority of that, us always criticize ourselves harder than anybody else may criticize us. So in any case, she said, you need to just go and do it. Just go and do it. And this is actually when the hammer conversation came up about doing a hammer video. And she said, just go out there and film me a video and teach me about all those hammers you have, so that way I actually know what they do. And so my initial thought was, I'm going to record this video, but I'm not posting it. I'm not going to post it. I'm going to record it because she asked me about recording it, and I want to do it so that way she knows. And then if she likes it, maybe I will. Maybe I'll post it. I don't know. And so I did the video and I edited it. And at this point, it was like a free editing software that's built into Microsoft. I think it was called Clipchamp, I think is what it was called. And so I did that and I edited it and I showed it to her, and she was like, you have to post this. Like, this is actually pretty good. And of course I thought to myself, really? Like, I don't see it as that good, but this is coming from somebody who has lots of experience with these hammers. And, somebody who has experience knowing what all of these hammers are for, they're probably not going to watch it. But think of how many people that don't know that might actually watch it. So, so then she watched the video, she liked it. And then I started to post it. And once I saw those results coming back, and at that point, getting 100, 200, 300 views, that was huge. That was massive. And that's when it started changing in my mind. And I guess, building a little bit of confidence that, maybe this isn't as bad as I thought. Maybe I do have some stuff that I can share with other people, even if I don't get paid for it, just for fun. And then it's like, I can build a community and connect with other people that do woodworking, the dying trade, if you will. And that's exactly what happened. I started connecting with all kinds of other people, except it wasn't just Ontario. That's where the United States started coming in. And then I got quite a few from Newfoundland, quite a few of them actually. And we talk regularly back and forth now. So I think that's kind of what, it was my wife that really, really pushed me over the edge. But I think what pushed me over the edge was seeing the results actually come in. That gave me the confidence to keep doing it.
Yeah. Now, I wonder what would have changed if you hadn't seen those immediate results come in, because I think for, I've seen many channels, or I've seen many people that start YouTube channels, right? Mm-hmm. And I consider our channel in particular to be that way, where you start and they're like, people are watching it. It's not that they're not watching it, but it's not the same extent. It's not like, your first video got 500 views and that's fantastic. But what if you don't get the views, what if you don't get that kind of thing? And you're like, well, how would you find that will or that idea to continue? And I think you made a really good point about it being for fun, right?
Yes. Well, so if you enjoy what you're doing, and on camera, you can be yourself and do what you want to do. And if it doesn't get lots of views, you know what? If you're enjoying it, you're having fun, you're sharing your stuff. I mean, in the woodworking realm, everybody loves to share pictures of their tools. It's a big thing. And so, maybe you're not getting a lot of traction, but if you enjoy it and you're just yourself and you're basically just sharing what you're doing, then go for it. Eventually you will be successful. I would say that when you're doing a YouTube channel, don't plan to start making money right away. Don't go into it with that goal. Go into it with sharing what you know, sharing what you're doing, enjoying yourself, having fun. If you're having fun and smiling and that sort of stuff on camera, people will relate to that. They'll buy into the mood and your demeanor, and they'll want to watch you more, as opposed to, somebody that's cursing and swearing all the time on a video because of getting frustrated. But I think a lot of people, they just relate to that. Oh, this person is being themselves. That's awesome. I want to see more of what they do. And so that's what I would say. If you enjoy it, do it for fun and just put a camera in front of yourself. Do the same thing. Put a camera in front of yourself and talking a little bit. And, if you're building something, a tutorial of what you're doing. But yeah, just do it and have fun. I think that's the biggest part. And that was my initial plan until, of course, I saw those video numbers coming in, was just to have fun and build a community. Because at the same time, I also started a Facebook group for timber designs. And that was the exact same purpose, is to connect with other people.
Yeah. I think that's a great mindset to see it, because it's something that I've been talking recently when it comes to marketing and how the marketing industry is kind of shaping up to be. But it's about that personalization. Like, things are becoming a lot more, I guess, individual, in that you want to show up as yourself, because, I've said this before, but in a world of 8 billion people, right, there's no two people that are the same, right? Everybody's different, and they're different because of who they are, because of their experiences, because of, all these kinds of things. So in a business, when you have 1,000 businesses that are vying for someone's attention, the way that you stand out, it works the exact same way, by just being yourself, by just, showing up, by just, do what you want to do what you care about, say what you care about. And then those results will eventually come, because you're going to start to attract people that care about those things as well. Right. So it's a great mentality to have, even on YouTube, right? To kind of pair that idea with, just have fun, but just go be yourself.
100%. And I couldn't agree with you more as far as being yourself. I've seen a lot of specifically woodworking channels, obviously, because that's kind of the realm that I fall in. I've seen a lot of people calling out others on videos because they're acting as opposed to being themselves. And then I see on the opposite side of it, and I also support a lot of other channels. So I've helped some other small channels grow to where they are now. Um, those are individuals that they are on their channel and they're sitting in their shop and they're freezing cold and they're telling you that they're freezing cold and they are being completely natural. They are themselves. Every now and then a bad word might slip. It happens. But they are themselves. And here's the funny part. A lot of the woodworking community, yes, there's videos out there that you can go and watch, but a good bulk of it is all YouTube live videos where you get to interact with them between individuals. As I said earlier, I attend probably one live per night for about an hour a night for the purpose of building a community and participating with other people. One of the YouTubers that does a live, he's asked some other woodworking channels, my woodworking channel being one of them, to send copies of a logo so that way he can get them printed and put on the wall of his shop, so he can have a wall of YouTube supporters. So like and everybody is being themselves, and that is the way to be. If you're not yourself, eventually somebody will see it. So being yourself is important, and if you're yourself, you don't have to act. So it's actually easier. Right? Being 100%. True, being authentic. That's a 100%. Big, important part of it.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So talking about being yourself, one of the things that I, because I met you a long time ago, and I feel like you've always done woodworking. I can't remember exactly, even if it was just before Timber Designs or something like that, but I feel like you've always been, you've always kind of done woodworking. So it's a part of you, if you will. So talk to me about woodworking.
Pardon the pun.
Talk to me about woodworking. How did you get into it?
Well, so when I was about 3 years old, I started building Lego. And gradually I went through probably until my early teen years being a Lego maniac, having an absolutely insane amount. I always loved building. When I was about, I'm going to say about 7 years old, my father started rebuilding the house that we lived in. It was an old farmhouse. And he had I think it was a 24 by 30 foot shop, and he wanted to make a lot of the stuff himself. So it was 6 by 12 pine beams and pine paneling, and everything was pine. So he was always in his wood shop, always. And so I used to love going in there with him. And for some reason, when I started, the only thing I wanted to make was wood guns that shot elastics. I have no idea. Yeah, I have no idea what the obsession was, but every time I would make one, he would throw it in the fire pit and say, no, you're not allowed to have this. So I would go and make another one. But I mean, gradually that progressed and I got out of the elastic guns. And I started getting into more of the stuff that he was doing, using the tools. And like his tools were from back in the 60s. So he had some pretty old stuff, tools that people absolutely are scared and terrified of now. But if you knew how to use them, worked great. So, I mean, I started using large power tools when I was probably 8 years old, using radial arm saws and table saws and planers and all kinds of stuff. And I used to help them with the different elements of building this house. And this house was customized to the point that you could look in the corner where there was a piece of wood and a piece of wood, and carved in on an angle would be a piece of pine with an A cut out. That's the level of customization that we did to this house, because A for our last name, Ardito. And so I would help him out with all that stuff, running the squirrel saw, cutting out the little pieces. And so woodworking has always been something that I've done. Even my grandfather, going back, probably into the 40s, started woodworking himself. He started doing woodworking in his basement. And then it got kind of passed down to my father, and then my father down to me. And I've carried it on ever since. I'm a little bit too old to build Lego. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with an adult building Lego. I kind of enjoy it.
Lego's awesome.
Yeah. Like I just helped my son build this big Deku tree from Zelda. The thing was massive. And then a Lego NES and all kinds of stuff. But I wanted to progress it a little bit further. And So, when I was out on my own and I finally had a space to be able to do it, I already had tools accumulated. First place I had, you had to walk into the house, and so you had to walk through all my tools on the side. It was a great entryway. My wife never liked it, but I thought it was great because I got to see my tools every morning and every night. But in any case, and then we gradually got to the point of where we are now, where we moved in and looked for a place that had a separate shop so I could finally set up what I always called my dream shop. I wanted to have a woodworking shop, a cabinet shop where I built everything in it myself and had all kinds of tools. And so that's kind of how it worked out. So as far as inspiration for it, the inspiration comes from my grandfather and my father for this. And probably my father burning all of my elastic wood guns is what used to push me to do more and do more and do more.
And more.
Because I always wanted to build it better and better and better to show him. It's just so he could burn it, build another.
That's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome.
So I've been into it for a long time, and I'm doing my best effort to try and get my son into it. So I actually recently did a video where my son was in it for the first time. Not something that I really wanted to do, but he was really pushing me, Dad, you're this famous YouTuber and I really want to be in one of your videos. So I finally said, okay, fine, buddy, you can be in one of the videos. And we built him a shelf for his Legos. Right? That's what
awesome.
We did in the video.
That's really cool.
So I'm hoping he takes some of it on. I've got him using basic tools, none of the big ones. He's also autistic, so we're very careful as to what he can and can't do. But it's just it always seemed to me a bit of a lost art, and it's something that I would like to preserve and I would like to be able to pass on. And I know that some of the stuff that I've built for my kids, the furniture that they have now, I've built a lot of it. And, years and years down the road, maybe when I'm gone, that they're still going to have that, and that maybe they can have that piece of furniture to pass on.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so absolutely. Yeah. That's really neat. So why do you, cause I don't know too much about woodworking in general. I'm not part of that, the community, and you called it again, a bit of a lost art. Why do you think that is?
Well, it's seen as a bit of a lost art because nowadays, if you want to buy a coffee table, let's say, as an example, most people will go to, maybe it's IKEA or maybe it's the Brick or something like that. And they'll be able to pick up a coffee table for, let's say $400 on average. When you look at when a woodworker custom builds you, because oftentimes it's custom built to what you want, when you get a custom built coffee table, it's likely going to cost significantly more than $400. You're probably, figure what you buy it for in the store, you're probably at least 2.5 times the price to have somebody build it for you. But I mean, the difference is, of course, the stuff that you buy at the store, it's not necessarily going to last a lifetime. Yeah. Whereas what you do in woodworking, it's the joinery methods that were done in the 1800s, the 1700s. There's mortise and tenon joints, there's dowel pin joints, and these are joints that are designed and tested to have lasted hundreds of years, because they're not relying on nails or screws. They're relying on the physics of something not being able to come apart. So when you look at woodworking, there's a lot of skill and a lot of time that's put into it. When you're doing things like a mortise and a tenon, to get two pieces of wood joined together might take about 2 hours just to do one joint. Wow. Picture all of the different joints in a coffee table.
Yeah.
So I say it's a long lost art because, and this is not a fault of anybody, but there's not as much of an appreciation there, because you can get something that looks just as good as custom built at a store. It may not last as long because, it's only a veneer and under the cover of the book, it may look very different. But when it's actual handmade woodworking, it's solid wood, solid joints, glue, even to the extent that the wood that I use for projects, I test the moisture levels before I use the wood to make sure it's not going to warp before I build something. Mm-hmm. So there's a skill that goes into it, and it's not that there's a lack of appreciation, but unfortunately with today's economy, it's very difficult to afford those types of things.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's what a lot of it is. So the woodworkers that I talk to in this area, a lot of their sales have slowed down because, well, to be honest, times are tough for a lot of people, and that's understandable.
Totally. Yeah.
And
yeah.
so I started to slow down on some of the projects. I was doing a lot of custom ones at one point. A lot of it was actual tables for RV trailers, the ones that drop down into a bed,
Oh,
because
okay.
the ones from the manufacturer always break. So I was actually building custom tables for trailers and RVs that would stand the test of time. But gradually it started to slow down. So now, fortunately for me, I never did it for the money. I always did it for the enjoyment, because I just enjoy doing it. I spend at least one day a week in my shop, at least one day, because it's like a happy place, right? And
Yeah.
and then you get, of course, into all kinds of hand tools. Like, I'll this as an example. This is a chisel from the late 1800s,
Oh,
and this was used to build log homes, to make sure that you're able to chisel out an exact 90-degree angle.
yeah,
And
yeah.
they would just tap this with a hammer, right? So then, like, there's all these old school tools. Here's another one. This is a timber chisel, and it's huge,
It is,
but it's for
yeah.
building log homes. It's seen a lot of use. These were made in the late 1800s by a company in Nova Scotia. So, but these are the kinds of tools that get used in woodworking. It's hand tools that you don't see a lot of anymore.
Yeah. That's really interesting because, how do I say it? Like it's such a it's artistry, I guess, if you were to call it
It
that.
is.
It's the same, it's something that is not done just for mass produce, right? It takes that thought process and that, whatever. And I'm a big fan of things that last a long time. It used to
Yeah.
be where everything that you bought, right? And my father talks about it all the time, is that everything that you bought lasted a long time. And nowadays you buy something to throw it out like a couple years later. Like it's really
Yep.
not worth it. And you're always like, so I've always I've always been looking for things that last a long time. And I've never thought of
Yep.
woodworking as a process to do that. But that actually makes a lot of sense. It makes me actually quite interested in seeing that.
No, and it's because the way you construct it, is what tells you if it's gonna stand the test of time. An example: my wife and I bought a bedroom set about 6 years ago, and it cost us, it was $6,000 or $7,000. And already I have to repair the nightstands that are coming apart at the joints, as well as one of the dressers. And so, of course, my intention is, no, I'm not repairing those. I'm building my own, because then I know they're going to last,
Yeah.
right? But that was $6,000 to $7,000, and that was only about 6 years ago, and they already have to be replaced.
Yeah.
I can, for this $7,000 bedroom set, I can spend $500 on wood and build the entire thing myself for $500. It's going to
Pretty
take me a
amazing.
while, don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
because the process takes time. And then, the finishing, and, when you do a glue joint, that's 24 hours to dry before you can do anything with it next.
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
So look at furniture and how many joints there are, and think of the glue in every one, and each one's 24 hours. And so it's a lot of time. And during that time, it sits in a shop, it's taking up your space, right? You may not be able to do any other projects, but to get something that is quality built is always worth it, because it will last.
100%. You don't understand. We've bought like 2 or 3 bookshelves at this point because every time we buy a bookshelf, it dies. Like it starts all of a sudden, like you put things and everything is nice, right? And then all of a sudden, my son starts tapping it and it starts swinging on one. Like it
Yep.
kind of goes back, and I was like, "What is going on?" It's like
Yep.
it's tipping, and it's like, okay, I have to buy another one or I have to fix it to the wall. Like it has to do something because it's just like, it's just kind of doing this for no reason.
And that's why when you buy those things, they come with a little L bracket or a string or
Yeah,
something
yeah,
to
yeah,
screw it to the wall so it doesn't move. If you look on the back of those types of shelves, the backing on it is probably an eighth of an
yeah,
inch thick.
yeah.
A woodworker would never do that. The backer would, it might be an eighth of an inch thick or a quarter inch thick, but it's actually going to have all the wood on the sides with grooves cut in it, and the panels slid into the grooves in order
Mhm.
to keep it square. So it can be very similar, but the difference is on the woodworking side, it's going to last,
Yeah,
right?
that's pretty
It's not going
awesome.
to come apart. And the bulk of the furniture that I build, there's no screws or anything in it. It is dowel pins or joints and other joints, and then glue. That's it. That's all
Mhm.
there is.
That's pretty cool.
So,
Let me
yeah.
ask
So when
you.
you look at it, like when you come into my shop, I've got an entire wall. My wife tells me I'm crazy. I think I've got about probably 40 clamps, because of how many things I have to clamp together. Because the one project I'm working on right now, To do 2 joints within a span of about 14 inches took me 8 clamps.
Wow.
Yeah. But it's glue and it will never break ever.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I'm interested.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. So let me ask you this then. As someone that wants to get or wants to, wants to start in the world of woodworking, what would you suggest how someone to just kind of get started? Simple, nothing major, like what tools
Yeah.
or what things should I do? If you have any channels that you recommend or something, right, to get started.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So there's a few things that I'd recommend. So number one, looking at tools. Do not buy anything new. Buy everything used
Mm,
because you do not need brand new tools. It's cheaper. Most of my stuff is used. It's just as good. And don't go crazy buying all of the big table saw and band saw, and you don't need those. You can start with a circular saw, a jigsaw, a hammer, and a chisel. You can start for less than $100. As far as material, go to Home Depot or go to another hardware store and pick up some 2x4s or 2x6s. They're $4 a piece, $10 a piece. Um, and then once you have those 2x4s or 2x6s, you have those tools, maybe some screws, get yourself some glue and a tape measure, and then go on YouTube and search up what you can build with a 2x4 or a 2x6, and you will be inundated with videos where you can make projects where it might take 12 inches of a 2x6 to build. And a lot of videos on YouTube are geared towards beginners, a lot of them, and that's where I gear some of mine as well.
mm-hmm.
But you will find a ton of project ideas where it shows you about 10 to 20 minutes to build it, but with a sale price for some of $40, $50, depending on what it is. Because in the woodworking realm, a lot of it is about, as you said before, it's art. It's what does it look like? It's aesthetics. What is the design like? How does it match the things that I have in my house? Right? A big thing for woodworking is if you can customize it for somebody, then it's going to be worth a lot more than what it would be if it were generic. So if somebody
Right.
wants something and you say, would you like any customization done? They're going to love that. That's a great thing. So getting started in it is, don't be afraid. Get some basic tools off Marketplace or wherever it is. Go online, watch some beginner videos. I will give you a really good channel to watch. This is one that I watch at least 2 or 3 times a week. The channel is called Bearded Viking Woodworks. It's a great name if you look at him. The fellow's name is Daniel. He's an amazing guy, and he kind of looks like a Viking.
Yeah. I can picture it.
But when you look at his videos, and almost anybody can make, and sometimes he uses fancy tools. Most times he'll just pull out a circular saw or a jigsaw for those that don't have a lot of tools.
Mm.
And he'll show you the basics. And these are instructional videos. He'll walk you through how to make the cut. He'll tell you what the measurement is. He'll tell you how to drill it. He will walk you through all of those things. And that's what most who have projects on YouTube, that's what they do. And they're very much geared towards beginners. Right? So don't be afraid, get some basic tools, buy some 2x6s and go on YouTube and search up for ideas on how you can build with them. An easy idea, take a cell phone and we see those cell phone amplifiers, they sit in a slot and they make the volume of the cell phone louder.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Take a saw, cut a slot in a 2x6, flip the 2x6 on its end, drill a hole down the middle, place the phone into it, and boom, you've got an amplifier.
Huh? There you
It's
go.
that simple. Some projects are so easy, right?
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll check it. What was it? What was it again? Viking Woodworking.
Bearded Viking Woodworks.
Bearded Viking
His
Woodworks.
name's
I'm gonna
Daniel.
write that down.
He's an absolutely awesome guy. Right? And again, very down to earth and incredibly authentic. He is always himself. That's one of the reasons why I watch his channel so much.
Absolutely. So I like that. And so let's get into YouTube itself. Tell
Sure.
me a little bit about how do you get started on YouTube from your perspective, right? Someone that doesn't know or somebody that hasn't started, how would you suggest or how would you advise someone to get started on YouTube?
So, okay. So there's a few things here. So there's one thing that I did near the beginning, just before that big video, is I signed up for an account with a company called vidIQ.
Right.
And vidIQ is pretty well known in the YouTube realm. And
Hmm.
what vidIQ essentially does is it assists you with keywords and with SEO, which is, of course, as you know, search engine optimization.
Yeah.
Um, YouTube and getting views and traction and whatnot on YouTube is a lot about the information that you enter into the video, be it through tags, through video descriptions, through video titles that are going to populate within your niche. It's the words, the things that people are searching for. So that's a big part of YouTube. So I learned very quickly, because when you sign up with vidIQ, if you get a paid account, you go through all of these learning courses. So they actually put you through courses on how to do YouTube, and it's really really neat. And they were only like about $20 a month. It wasn't expensive. And after I was done the course and I was really up and running, then I got rid of the paid account and I just have a free one now. But I learned some stuff from vidIQ that really worked. So number one is when we're looking at your video, the title. The title is huge for the search engine portion of the YouTube algorithm. You want to make sure that your title has keywords that directly relate to the content that you're posting, but also to the channel identification that you are, right? So you want to have keywords that relate to both. You also want to have a good channel description. So you can put in about the channel on there. And you want to make sure that the about the channel is also populated with keywords. So mine, you'll see woodworking in quite a few of the descriptions, in the about page and all that sort of stuff, because those keywords help populate it. And then the description of the videos themselves are also very important in terms of putting in keywords and whatnot. Now, one of the things I did learn with vidIQ is in a video description, you're allowed up to 500 characters, and you need to maximize that as much as possible. Because
Really?
the more words that you put into the description, the more likely you are to populate through I guess it's through the SEO aspect. Don't get me wrong, I'm not a marketing guru. It's just the things that I've learned. So the nice part about vidIQ was that it would actually take all of the tags that you put into the video. So woodworking projects, hammers, all that sort of stuff. And it'll write you a description based on all of the keywords that you've entered.
Hmm.
And it will write that description, and it'll maximize that description all the way up to 500 words. It's not to say that description is always good. You got to customize that a little bit still. And then you can also in your videos add tags. So tags are words that people may commonly misspell when they're looking for something in YouTube. So let's say I'll put as a tag woodworking, but instead of ending it with NG, I'll put GN, because I mean, we all sometimes have fat finger syndrome.
Yeah,
So we type the wrong word. But because you've got a tag with that spelling error, it may actually help that video populate and still show up in the search.
Really interesting.
Yes. So that's tags. So tags are important. Descriptions are important. The about the channel is important. I'm going to say that probably the most important thing is the thumbnail. That is one of the most important things. And I've learned the hard way a couple of times, because I've put up a video, I've put up a thumbnail. 2 days later, it's not gaining any traction. And I'm going like, what's going on? I thought it was a great video. And it turns out that just the thumbnail is no good, because they don't read the title of the video when they're searching something. They look at the thumbnail. So the one thing I could say about a thumbnail is simple is better. Simple, straight to the point, as little words as possible is what you want to do. So oftentimes you'll see in a woodworking videos that somebody's got a picture of a project and it's an arrow and it says, do this.
Right.
Well, do what? What that does is it sparks your curiosity as to why I should go and watch this. And the more people click on that thumbnail, the more YouTube recommendations spreads that across the entire platform, the algorithm, right? The more that people click on it. When people click on it, if they like the content and push the like button, that also tells the YouTube algorithm, okay, people are clicking and they're liking. We need to push this out even more. So the thumbnail is definitely important. Very little words, straight to the point, and bright. So it's almost in your face, not too bright, but the text needs to stand out from the background and it needs to be lighter. So commonly what I'll do for my backgrounds is I usually have a picture of this back here, But I changed the color of it. I think it's called a duotone feature. I use Canva for a lot of the thumbnails. And it's a duotone feature that I put a blue tint on everything in the background.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
And if you use somewhat of a consistent color scheme, and you don't have to, but I almost always use blue in my background, what it does is it helps people recognize that it's my channel.
Mm-hmm.
And so it may make them want to watch it more. So, and again, I'm not an expert in this, but I'm going based on what I have found has worked for me. Special characters in video titles, I don't even add them anymore, because special characters do absolutely nothing. They just cloud it up and they push the text that you want people to read further and further away.
Right.
Because when they're looking at it in a feed on an app, they're not going to see all of the text.
Yeah.
So I try to keep the titles simple, but it still include the keywords. So 3 awesome woodworking projects, something like that. And then in the thumbnail, I'll put a picture of the projects. And then I might put something that says, build this or try this. And then I always have my goofy face like down in a corner or something, somewhere pointing or making some ridiculous facial expression, just trying to put, maybe it's a little bit of humor in it. Who knows? But that's one of the things that I learned about thumbnails. And when I signed up for that vidIQ Pro account, you also get access to their Discord, where you can talk with the vidIQ directly, and you can send them thumbnails and say, hey, what do you think about this? Or what do you think about that? And so I used to get a lot of feedback from that Discord group on what they thought was good and what they thought wasn't.
Interesting.
So that was a really good one. And then YouTube came out with a really cool feature. They have a comparison feature where when you do your video, you can upload 3 thumbnails. And what YouTube is going to do is they're going to test all of those thumbnails against the audiences. And after about 24 hours, they're going to tell you the highest percentage click-through rate based on the thumbnail, and then you can click stop and set. And so now what you're doing is you're setting the thumbnail to the one that YouTube has determined is the most popular.
Wow. I actually didn't know that. That was...
Yeah. That's a new one. And I use that on every video that I do now, because I always have different ideas for a thumbnail. And I'm not an incredibly creative person when it comes to design of, like, or what would you call it? I don't know, aesthetic design. I'm not huge on that if it's not wood.
Yeah.
So I always use that option, and it always picks one, and then I always stop and set it, and the video typically does better. So yeah, thumbnails were a really, really big one too.
Interesting. And you mentioned as well that when you got started, because you had been doing timber designs for a few years before YouTube, right? That you had this audience already, right? It was a local audience, but you had these people that already knew timber designs. You had these people, and like you said, you kind of got started through like Facebook group. So talk to me about that.
Yep. Well, so one of the things that I did before all the YouTube, if you go on Facebook, there's a lot of Facebook groups about woodworking. And I mean a lot. You wouldn't think there is, but there's a ton. There's a woodworking group called, Ontario, Canada Woodworkers. The one that was local to this area, I believe it is Simcoe County Woodworking, or Simcoe County Woodworkers, or Simcoe Muskoka, actually, I think is what it is. So I joined that group. And I joined Woodworking for Beginners. And then I joined, I'm probably going to say about 10 other ones. And all of a sudden, my entire Facebook feed is nothing but woodworking, which I'm not going to lie, I was pretty happy about that, because I didn't have to see all those other ridiculous things being posted anymore. And so one of the things I quickly found out in these Facebook groups is these are members, aside from the ones that are like local to our area, there's members in this group from all around the world. This is insane. And the Woodworking for Beginners group on Facebook is probably the largest one. The last I checked, it was 1.2 million members.
Wow.
Right? And that's globally. And that is, I believe, since 2017 or 2018. So that's pretty big for a Facebook group. It gets tough because then you lose some moderator functions when you have that many people, things that you can't do. Like you can't tag at everyone when you have 1 million people. I understand the reason why. But in any case, so yeah, I was interacting a lot on these Facebook groups, and I became a top contributor because I always love to talk about this stuff. And then I'll never forget at one point on the Woodworking for Beginners group, somebody had a question, because it's literally, there's a lot of experienced people, there's a lot of beginners, and the beginners ask questions of the experienced one. It's a group to share. And so I reached out to the administrator of the site of the group, and I said, this person is asking this question. I know we're not allowed to share videos. I guess this is actually when I started the YouTube channel, and I was in this group for a while. I said, I know we're not allowed to share videos in the channel, but is it okay if I share one of my videos? Because it directly answers a question that somebody had. They were struggling. I think it was doing a type of joinery or something like that. I don't remember what it was. And so he said, absolutely, sure. So I shared the video. Then he reached out to me and he said to me, would you be interested in producing videos for the Woodworking for Beginners YouTube channel?
Wow.
And so I said, sure, let's do it. And so we signed up and we went through a contract and whatnot, even though we didn't need to, but we went through a contract, and within a month I made them 3 videos. You can go to Woodworking for Beginners 101 on YouTube, and you'll see my face all over all of their videos, right? Because I did a whole bunch for them. The administrator's name there is Jerome. He's an absolutely great guy. I think he's from Brazil is where the group was started. In any case, so I started doing a lot of those, and I will attribute the Woodworking for Beginners pod because I was able now to share all of my videos on the Woodworking for Beginners Facebook group. So I could now share my videos and get exposure to over 1 million people.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started doing that, and that's where I started to see some growth come in from that, right? So that probably contributed to my channel growing a little bit quicker. So I had a lot of interaction in that group to the point that Jerome actually made me a moderator of the channel of the group. I was the only moderator in addition to himself. And so we have to go through and, deal with all of these issues coming in from 1 million plus people. And I'll tell you, that's not easy to manage.
No, I bet.
And then gradually he said that, we want to increase the traction even more. So I said to him, well, let's do some contests. Let's do some giveaways on the group. And he's like, giveaways, that's an awesome idea. How do we do that? I said, well, leave it to me. I'm going to reach out to tool companies. And so that's exactly what I did. The first company I reached out to was Jessam Tools, based out of Moncton, New Brunswick. They make very high-end fine woodworking tools. And they agreed to sponsor the Facebook group for a giveaway of a $400 set of Dowling jigs that they sent directly to the winners from their factory.
Wow.
And so we got them on, which was awesome. And then, we're seeing an increase in the channel and my channel, the group's channel, and the group membership. So then we said, let's do it again. So then the next month I reached out and had a meeting with Lee Valley Tools, with the head of marketing for Lee Valley Tools here in Ontario, in Ottawa. And so I had a meeting with that Lee Valley Tools person, and they agreed, yeah, absolutely. We're going to sponsor a contest, and we're going to give away a $500 hand plane. And in exchange for these contests, we would drive traffic to their website, their YouTube channel, that sort of thing, through the Facebook group. Right. So it was actually pretty good. And then we had some other sponsors and whatnot after that. So the Facebook groups, that one really started to take off, and it really started to consume a lot of time because of the size of it and the monthly giveaways. And the majority of it was me getting most of the tool companies. So I was on the phone with tool companies all across the United States, in Canada, all over the place. So the Facebook groups have been absolutely amazing because it's a great community. And that's when I decided I had my own going, and I wanted to promote it more and get more people into it. And initially my own Facebook group for timber designs was just for local people. And then I decided, let's expand it. Anybody in the world can join. So I think it's got about 38 members now. I haven't really done too much of a push with it, but Facebook group is an absolutely awesome way in joining it to see what other people are doing. And what I would say for a lot of beginners out there is one of the most challenging parts is trying to figure out what to build.
Yeah.
Right. So watch the YouTube videos, go on the Facebook groups, join them, look at all of the projects that are posted every single day. Take a project and put your own spin on it, because you can't copyright a woodworking project.
Mm-hmm.
Put a spin on it, make it yours, customize it.
That's where the artistry comes in.
Absolutely. Be creative, right? Do something unique, something that says, this is mine, right? Mm-hmm. I made this, I built this, I made it my own.
Yeah.
And ultimately enjoy yourself, right? So the Facebook groups have been absolutely amazing.
Yeah, and that's kind of where what, it sounded like is that you were able, and this is just, I think, just through your personality, because you've always been very outgoing and, and stuff like that. So I feel
Yep,
like it's just you wanting to find more people like this. And then through finding people that wanting to be part of a community, you found yourself building that community, right?
yeah,
Through that. But I think that concept is actually very powerful for someone that wants to start a YouTube channel or stuff like that. Is like you could even start by finding the people that you want to attract first, right? Like, who
100%.
are they? If you're into woodworking, or if you're into, painting, or if you're into whatever it is that you're doing, right?
Yeah,
Go figure out where they are. If are there any Facebook groups? Are there anything? And just kind of start being part of that community, right? By being part of it, you'll start getting noticed, you'll start getting to know people, and then they'll realize that you have something else.
yeah. Oh, 100%. A big thing about YouTube is finding your niche.
Mm.
You'll if you ever watch any of the videos about starting a YouTube channel and whatnot, they will always tell you find your niche. I will say that it's very difficult to find a niche on YouTube now because of how much is out there. But
Yeah,
don't let
absolutely.
it discourage you. You can still do it because the fact that you are you, as far as I'm concerned, is your niche. That's the way that I look at it. Because just like you said before, June, there is no other you.
Hmm.
You are yourself, and you can be your own niche. I mean, I'm in a community of woodworkers that post on YouTube, and there's so many people, so many YouTubers that do it. But I still gain good traction. I'm still able to build a good community, meet a lot of really good people. And to me, that makes it that's worth it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. And talk to me about, because you do woodworking, you have a family, you have a full-time job, and you have a YouTube
Uh-huh.
channel.
Yep.
Talk to me about balance, about how you fit
Okay.
everything in.
So back in the summertime, I was at a real high point after I got monetized. And so I was
Hmm.
at the point that, yep, one video a week, one video a week, one video a week. And it's just over and over and over again. And I found myself spending 2 days of my only off time during the week, 2 of my 3 days, doing nothing but woodworking and YouTube. And the one thing you always have to be careful is if you love woodworking, you may not want it to turn into a job. You got to be very
Yeah.
careful about that. Just like you said, balance. When the end of August came, I started hitting some struggles with it. And the reason I hit the struggles is because I was trying to post a video every single week. And honestly, I was struggling to come up with some ideas
Mm.
because there was so much going on. So I was doing that. I was doing the trying to get sponsors for the woodworking group. I have a full-time job. I have kids, and I started to feel like I was neglecting them a little bit.
Mhm.
And it came to a point where I took the YouTube channel and I scaled it back a little bit to make it more manageable. I had to do that. And I stopped doing the trying to get sponsors for the woodworking group because it was just too much. I mean, the next part of that woodworking group was Jerome wanted to start a magazine specific to that woodworking group. And I had to put the brakes on and say, I don't think I have the mental, never mind physical capability to do it
Yeah.
because there's so much already going on. And like with our family, our son is autistic and he's got a lot of challenges already. And
Hmm.
so he needs more attention and he needs dad time. He really does. So the YouTube channel was great. And don't get me wrong, it's still doing great, but I had to scale back what I was doing and how I was doing it because it was getting overwhelming. It was getting stressful and I don't think it was sustainable. Not at that point. So the YouTube thing, that is still ongoing, but I cut out some of the extras that I didn't need to be doing. So I did stop making videos for the Woodworking for Beginners group because that was one video a month in addition to the 4 or 1 per week that I was
There you
already
go.
doing for
That's
myself.
right.
Then another magazine reached out to me, a national woodworking magazine, to make videos for them. So I started making videos for them last fall. And
Wow.
then I had to scale that back a little bit because it was too much. And then they asked me about writing articles. So I wrote them an article, but again, I had to scale it back because was it really cool and going in a great direction? Absolutely it was. but was it sustainable? Not at all. Because in my eyes, I love woodworking, but family is number one, and it has to be number one. And my kids are a priority. So
Absolutely.
this is why I'm happy now. My daughter wants to come out and help me film. That's great because I actually get to spend time with her while we're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I'm trying to teach my son about other things in the shop. And at the same time, I'm still building Lego with him. Right. And still fun. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
So I dedicate more time to them. And of course, my wife. My wife, she's busy and, she is the hardest working person. She's a stay-at-home mom. She's the hardest working person that I know for everything that she does, and how she puts up with me, I have no idea. But she is absolutely amazing. And so I had to strike a bit of a balance. I had to scale it back. And so in scaling it back, I now manage YouTube, work, and home. And for the most part, that's it. I've stuck to the three. Building custom projects for people because of the market right now, I don't do a lot of them. I've got some on the go right now for our local pizzeria, Bedrock Cafe, that I'm working on.
They were also on the podcast.
Yes, absolutely they are. And for anyone watching or listening, go check it out. It's really good.
Exactly.
But I'm building some custom things for them from their furniture they took out of their remodel. So I do some of those periodically, but not very often. I keep it to the YouTube because I enjoy it. I love the community. And even when I'm doing videos, I still get to do woodworking. I still get to do what I enjoy. I'm just not selling it. That's all it is.
Yeah.
I'm keeping it in my shop and it's for me. That's it. I have probably a lot of my projects are hanging up all over the place in here of things that I've done in the past, and my kids have some, and my wife has some, but I'm doing it for fun. So what I will say is, when you're doing it, YouTube, be very careful to not overexert yourself too much, because it does start to affect you. I started to have a not so great headspace at that point, and that's when, in talking with my wife again, she is my number one partner. She's great to talk to about this stuff, and that's when she said, I think you need to scale back a little bit. Just like, she doesn't want to discourage me, and she loves that I have shop time. She wants me to keep doing all of that stuff, but she was getting a little bit worried about how much I was actually able to handle, and fair enough. So if you're going to do a YouTube channel, there's nothing wrong with that, but there's going to be a lot of other opportunities that can follow with that. And when your YouTube channel gets really going and you get some more momentum and people in, you're going to want to push and push and push. But you have to be careful not to push yourself to the point that you're in a headspace that you can't do it anymore.
Right. Yeah.
Because keep in mind, the video is what everybody sees. What people don't see is perhaps the hours of recording it took for a 20-minute video, or the hours that it takes to edit a video. Consider one video of like a longer length video that you've lost a day. That's how I would look at it personally, because that's what it takes me. Now, I'm in a DIY space. If you're not in a DIY space on a YouTube channel and it's talking and chatting back and forth, it may be a bit less time.
Still, though, there is a lot of behind the scenes that people just don't see, just with content creation in general, right? Like you see it all the time with stars, or like, people like on YouTube and on Twitch and everything, where they talk about them burning out because you're doing this all the time, you're doing it every day, but you don't realize how much of a toll it takes. And I'm happy to hear that you were able to kind of figure that out, because I feel like a lot of people don't notice it, right? They just kind of keep going, push through because this is what's working, or this is how I make a living, or this is what I want to do. And then just, push past the point where then you can't do it anymore. Like when you get to that point of burnout, like it's done. Like you can't do anything.
Yeah. And it's tough. If you go and look at my channel, there's one of the videos on there. I think it's called No One Talks About This. And it was a video where I was sitting down and talking to the camera, but it was during that point. Yeah. It was right during that point. Yeah. And the intention behind that video was to push people to get the motivation to just go and do it and have fun with it. That was at the point that I was struggling with trying to manage everything. I was trying to do too much. And that can happen. I mean, keep in mind, when you start a YouTube channel, as you get more popular, all those doors and windows that open, sponsorship opportunities, all sorts of things. I've had tons of sponsorship opportunities. I turned down every single one but one of them. And you're going to want to push yourself and put out video after video after video. I've seen some that they get so popular that they're putting out a video a day. Can you imagine that? A video
Yeah,
a day?
I've seen. Yeah,
That's
that's
insane.
insane.
Yeah. Like I have woodworkers I attend. They do a live stream every day, but there's no editing. There's maybe a little bit of prep. That's easier. Um, but as far as the posting, even weekly, I found was hard. Now there was an advantage to posting weekly, and another big tip for YouTube is consistency is key. Posting at the same time every week or every 2 weeks, because I started posting at 9 a.m. every single Sunday. YouTube algorithm picked me up as essentially the sitcom effect. Every day at the same time, I had a video coming out, so the algorithm knew to push it. And when the algorithm was doing that, when I was doing these weekly videos, I was getting 1,000 views within a couple hours.
Interesting.
Yeah, so the sitcom effect is really popular. Now, once I scaled back and I went to every couple of weeks, I lost the sitcom effect. So my videos don't get pushed as much now. And currently at this point, I think I'm 3 weeks without a video, but that's because I've got projects that I have to build for actual clients. So that's a sacrifice that's needed because client comes first. But get into that rhythm. If you post one video every 2 weeks, make sure it's the same day, the same time. I can't stress that enough because then YouTube knows to push it.
Okay, that's good to know. See, I just post whenever I'm done with a video.
Yeah, and you know what? You're 100% right. And so the other thing that's a real key is once you start getting video posted, look at your analytics. And a really important one to look at is there's a little button that says audience, and you scroll down and it gives you light to dark colors. The dark colors meaning most of your audience is online. The light colors meaning nobody's online. It'll give you a Sunday to Saturday calendar, and it'll show you the hours within each of those days that your viewers are actually watching the videos. That gives you a better idea of the time and day to post in order to achieve that sitcom effect. That's a really, really big one. I guess another one is if you wanted to see how your thumbnails are doing, go into, again, your analytics again, look at your click-through rate. If it's really low, you may want to think of how can you make your thumbnail more exciting, or how can you make it brighter? How can you make it stand out? If you see that click-through rate starting to go up, that means people are liking your thumbnails. So if they are, stay with a similar theme, a similar idea, whether it be, bright colors, designs, shapes, whatever it is, whatever's working.
Awesome. All right. Well, I think we have gone through everything that I wanted to reach out. Is there anything? Oh, before I ask this question, where can people find you? What is your channel? Where can people find you? What?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So it's actually pretty easy. Just go onto YouTube and search Timber Design. So I think it's youtube.com/Timber Designs. It's capital T, capital D, and then all the words together. So it's very simple. I also set up a website, June. I actually did it myself.
Nice. Good job.
It's not in WordPress. I haven't got that far yet.
Oh, what do you do then?
Just the GoDaddy builder.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
But I bought the WordPress package. I just have no idea how to get it over there. So that was like 4 months ago. So I haven't figured that out yet, but I'm getting there. But then there's a website, timber-designs.ca. And there's, again, if somebody's looking for projects to build, every project I build, I put a picture on there, every single one of them. Right. I also put an email address on there. So if anybody ever wants to reach out just to chat, to send a picture of a cool project, that's one thing that I'm always open for.
Absolutely. And you have Facebook, Instagram, all that jazz as well, right?
Yeah. And unfortunately, TikTok also.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's one that I had to do, but surprisingly, it's just under 3,000 followers. Because what I do is I take my long form videos and I use a website called Opus Clip. Opus Clip takes your long form videos and turns them into shorts. And it automatically puts, so whenever you watch something on TikTok and the white and green lettering comes up, that's a sign that it's been done by Opus Clip.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it's a really cool one. So all the long videos that I do, I usually make a few shorts out of the long videos and I post those on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook. and then I eventually post them sometimes as shorts. The idea behind the other platforms, they don't make money. It's not there for that, but if they want to come and have a look at the YouTube channel, there's typically a reference on those other platforms to do so.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Awesome. Yeah. So with that, is there anything that we might have missed that we wanted to talk about?
You know what? I don't think so, but just one of the things I guess that I want to say to anybody that's thinking about you starting up a YouTube channel, is not sure about it. What I would say is just do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not easy at the beginning, and it could be difficult, and it's not easy to be on camera, but just do it and be proud of what you do. Is it going to be perfect? No. June, you mentioned at the beginning, you went back and looked at the first one of these that we did.
Yeah.
And in comparison to now, I go back to my first YouTube video that I posted about hammers, and I just look at it and go, wow, that is very different. You know what the whole point is? It's to learn, to grow, and to get better. And every single one of us can do that. So don't be discouraged. Don't think that you can't do it, because you can. Anybody can do it. Anyone.
That's one of those things that I remember. I can't remember who said it, but somebody said that, if you look back on your past and you don't cringe at it, it means you haven't grown. So if it's cringy, or if it's like, oh, I could have done that so much better, it means that you have learned, that you have grown, that you have, gotten at a different place. So there is that certain amount of experience that you need to have, to improve.
That's a great way to put it. You're 100% right. And go to anybody's YouTube channel, popular or not popular. Look at their videos now, and then look at their very first one. Yeah. The difference is night and day, and that's almost every single YouTuber. There's ones that are really popular now where, like, even in the woodworking realm, they've turned into almost like comedy episodes. But when you go back and look at the first video was, I'm very serious about woodworking. We're going to build this project at exactly 13 3/8 of an inch. But now it's all comedy because they've evolved. They've changed. And, over the years, your YouTube channel is going to evolve. It's going to change, because change is hard, but change is good. Right?
Absolutely. And it's individual,
great
right?
way to put it.
You're going to grow as a person. You're every year that passes, you're going to have new experiences. You're going to learn about it. So you're going to change. Your channel's going to change with you as well, right?
And the other thing I'd add that, I mentioned back at the beginning of this, that I didn't feel confident enough to be able to do this. Looking back at that now, I have way more confidence than I ever had before. Not necessarily my ability to do this, but the videos, the fact that people might want to watch. And I reach out to the community more. I post on my community tab at least once to twice a week to try and engage people. It's the YouTube channel has essentially helped me build a lot of that confidence. That's not just for YouTube, but for everything. Right? Absolutely. Maybe to a certain extent, it's kind of changed a lot of the elements in my life. I would say probably, absolutely, it has, because out of all the videos I've done, I think I've like 78 videos or something like that now uploaded. I think I've only had like 3 or 4 negative comments, which I was actually very surprised at, because I know some videos I probably should have had some, but they didn't show up. And so it was really encouraging. But again, if bad comments show up, use that as an opportunity for growth, and ignore some people. Some people just, they just want to say bad things, right? Don't take anything that anybody says to heart that much. Just, if there's any constructive criticism in there, use it to try and make yourself better and better and better. But it will happen. You will get better.
Yeah,
always.
Absolutely. That's fantastic. Yeah. So then, thank you very much, Dave. This was an absolute blast.
Thank you.
Yeah, to be to be on the podcast for the second time, and we'll see when you'll come back for the third time.
That's awesome. I'll start another business, and then
there you go.
No, I'm just kidding. I'll get completely overwhelmed on that one.
Thank you for listening to the entire episode. All the links and info you heard in this conversation will be featured in the show notes on our website, villagermagazine.ca/podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, consider subscribing to our channels like YouTube, Spotify, or wherever you're listening from, so you never miss an episode. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.